Here comes the cavalry right here. Got a double squad of Howling Banshees, and they look to be really well reinforced. It even looks like there must be a Banshee X-Arch or two in there. X-Arch, as some people like to call it. I like X-Arch better, but who cares? It's just fanatics. And over at the western pass here, oh, Fire Dragons. Just sneaking, tiptoeing past those orcs. Looks like they're going to be heading to this listening post, and that's the listening post on the relic, so that's a very important structure there for the orcs. And the Fire Dragons are going to be blasting straight into this. This is actually a big deal, because this represents a fair chunk of the orc economy, and orc economies can get really strong if you leave them unchecked. Now, the Fire Dragons are seeing to it that that listening post is going down. Looks like maybe they will... Oh, yes, they are going to decapture it as well. So that's a fair bit of resources just lost there from Dr. Orc. So the Servant doing a really good job defending his base, as you can see there, just polishing off an Orc shooter, as well as keeping the pressure on the Orc player as well. And I think that's very important, because against Orcs you really have to stay on the offensive. You can't really play passively against Orcs, because they can really steamroll you if you let them tech too hard, or if you let them get too much money. Or if you let them get the better positions on the map. You've really just got to take the game to them as much as possible, and Servant is doing that so far, and very good defense, might I add, if I didn't say that already. And once again, these Banshees, rarer unit, but they're doing just so well in the hands of a capable Eldar player here. And he's kept both squads alive, so that's really good. I haven't really seen any of the actual War Shout ability used. Maybe I've just not been focusing on the battles when that's happened, but that would be cool to see as well. And here comes the Banshee. Almost said, here comes the Farseer and Dark Reaper squad. As you saw there, they moved too close to the listening post, and they were getting shot at. But now they've moved to the optimum range, where the Dark Reapers have actual shooting range of the listening post, but the listening post can't fire back due to the range difference. So nice little bit of play there by Servant once again. Dr. Orc is countering that though with Storm Boys. But again, that's the reason why you get the Farseer in the squad like that, because the Farseer is just able to deal with the Storm Boys. He doesn't even have to run away with the Dark Reapers at this point, because the Farseer combined with the Dark Reapers is enough to actually beat the Storm Boys in combat. He's even got a Guardian squad there to help defend. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are seeing this, but that was the Fire Dragons. No, yeah, the Fire Dragons are... I thought they were running towards the Orc base. The Orcs are running back towards the Orc base. The Fire Dragons are retreating. Who knows what's going on, what's going to be happening next. Looks like they're heading upwards, heading north along the western pass here, and engaging the Howling Banshees. Servant's got a listening post back up on that point, but he hasn't upgraded to level 2 yet. Hopefully he does. And we've got a Nob squad here and a shooter squad. So it looks like the Fire Dragons are engaged with the shooters back here. But they're not very good in combat. Speaking of combat though, Howling Banshees, 2 squads of Howling Banshees against what looks like to be 1 or possibly 2 squads of Nobs. And Nobs are a very powerful unit, good fighting unit up close and personal, but so are the Banshees, and looks like they've been upgraded because they're doing pretty well in combat. In fact, the Nobs have just broken in terms of morale. So things go really well here, but look at these Fire Dragons. I thought something like this might happen. While the Banshees are taking out those Nobs, the Fire Dragons have actually snuck right into the back of Dr. Orc's base, and he's actually got some flash kits, and he may have spotted these Fire Dragons. Look at those flash kits, they are a very powerful Orc unit. They pack so much firepower. Just look at the bullet belts and stuff covering them. But for some reason, he hasn't actually followed them, and this is crucial because the Fire Dragons have actually snuck back, and they're going to take out a War Banner and probably that listening post as well before they get destroyed. What must have happened is Dr. Orc must have clicked on that Flash Kit squad and then ordered them to attack somewhere else, probably to try and deal with the Howling Banshees, because he's actually left himself wide open here. He's got Fire Dragons in the back of his base, and he's going to lose another chunk of his economy if he's not careful here. In the meantime, Warp Spider's actually dealing to these Nobs. Nobs are actually charging them straight into close combat, so they have to run back, but the Fire Dragons actually have decaptured that point and taken up both buildings. They may even take out this War Truck as well. So, wow, Servant actually doing such a great harassment job here, but finally the Flash Kit's returning and totally just gunning down the Fire Dragons. They just can't stand up to that kind of heavy firepower. And later on in the game, Servant has really got to watch out for those Flash Kits. Dr. Orc, once he starts getting those guys into combat, things are going to be difficult, and Servant's going to need some high tech of his own. He's going to have the warp spiders, which I guess are a sort of an equivalent, but yeah, I mean, you know, apples and oranges, different, slightly different unit, really. Well, probably I used the fruit metaphor a bit wrong there, but who cares? Just going to swap the interface point of view over to the Eldar side, so you can actually sort of got the Eldar thing down the bottom with the Eldar voices. Just a little bit of a change for the second half of this game, assuming we're yeah, I think we're just about halfway through. It's a replay, of course. We're not watching this live. And here come the flash kits. He's got plenty of them by now. And once those guys start getting in range, the Howling Banshees are really not going to cut it until they get into close combat. So any charging Howling Banshees is going to take a lot of casualties. The Howling Banshees have headed around the Eastern Pass, and that's actually a pretty good idea given the fact that the Flash Kits are heading straight up the Western Pass. But also that Dr. Orc's got a big line of, like a wall of war banners there, which also have guns on top of them, as well as that listening post upgraded. So he's pretty much walled off the entrance to the base over the eastern side. Very clever play, very clever layout from his base. Really quite impressed by that. And so the Howling Banshees are heading back to the central base location, because the base is under attack by flash kits. A lot of them. Look at those guns going off. Man, that is a lot of firepower going here. We've even got a war truck with a big mech in the background. And is that who I think it is in the background over here? Yes, it is. It's a war boss. So looks like Dr. Orc is really starting to take up now. That war boss is inflicting some pain on that fast here. That fast is almost dead. And looks like the Eldar base is well and truly under attack here. We've got a Wraith Lord, so that's actually at least something to hold off the Orcs. It's about time that Servant got some tech up and running. And here he goes, just charging straight into the Orcs. Actually, this is quite good because he's forced the flash kits to run around rather than spend their time shooting and so forth, which is a pretty good move. And Warp Spiders firing in the background here. But the war boss looks to have taken out the Farseer. I can't see the Farseer on the minimap icon up above the left where you normally see it. So the war boss must have polished her off. Taking a look at the combat, yeah, that war boss, once he gets in range of those Howling Banshees, is going to be inflicting some serious damage. And luckily, these Warp Spiders, he must have 2 or 3 squads of them by now, because that's a lot of Warp Spider firepower going on. And looks like 2 Wraith Lords in the thick of it. Nice move with the Warp Spiders, just jumping behind the army, actually catching the retreating flash kits as they head out there. And that's really good play there by any good Eldar player just to do that. Meantime, we've got the war boss bashing Howling Banshees into the ground. Very nice stuff. Now he's going toe to toe with the Wraith Lord, so let's see how well he does. We've actually got 2 Wraith Lords here. Yeah, I pointed that out earlier. But at least one of them is going to be taking on that war boss, and quite interested to see who comes out the better off there. I think the war boss will not come out better off, just given the number of troops firing behind it. And look at that! Dr. Orc had actually built a tank buster squad to take out the Wraith Lord. Good plan, but Servant was too quick with those Warp Spiders and just totally thrashed the shit out of those tank busters, so they went down really quickly. Meanwhile, the Howling Banshees have actually chased the flash kits all the way back to Dr. Orc's space, but he's not going to be able to continue too far into the space given the number of sort of Orc static defense there. He's got a couple of war banners as well as buildings with guns on them and so forth. So that's looking pretty bad for the Howling Banshees. But back at the battlefront, this war boss is looking in very rough shape. He's looking pretty rough right now. And he's been shot in the back. So dead war boss. Good job to the Eldar. And in the meantime, Howling Banshees retreating. Didn't think they'd be hanging out in the Orc base for too long. And a couple of fresh squads heading up the western pass. We've got the big mech leading them.
We are the messengers of doom.
Looks like the Howling Banshees are retreating from that. I really wouldn't want to be facing them myself. And over in the eastern pass, looks like we've got a triple group of Wraith Lords, as well as the Seer Council charging after the Orcs down here at the eastern pass. And Dr. Orc's got a war track and a war truck, not to be confused, two very different vehicles. The war truck, of course, is the one that carries them, carries the troops, and the war track is just a dude with the tracks and the rockets on top. So again, the battle has